Hello, and welcome to episode 137 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. As always, I'm joined by Matthew Figuera.
I cannot tell you hello that I always, since we've moved to video, there's always just moments of panic that I'm like, is everything recording? I've got the stopwatch going for timestamps. I've got the video recording going. Audacity's going to grab the audio, and now I can finally talk. You just drink your delicious beverage there.
Live production sounds like
my God, it's fun. I think
a fun time.
I always have this mini moment of panic just before we start recording, and then it's done. I'm like, it's fine, whatever.
I mean, just like we're waiting for the day where a recording is completely fucked. It will happen with video.
I mean, we had one mini incident like 3 weeks ago where 10 minutes in, I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't record.
I mean, at least it was 10 minutes in. Like, I'm waiting for the one where we get to like, we're talking about questions and we're like,
I just won't tell you. I'll never say a thing. I'll just put up like, I used to put on YouTube. I'll just put like a backing video, or I'll just put on one of our old videos, and we'll just look like we're out of sync, and people will never know.
Like, we say this video is like extremely out of sync.
I just couldn't fix the audio. I really tried my best. Sorry, guys.
I just realized now, even though I've been looking at this video for like the past 15 minutes while setting up, that we are matching shirts today.
Are you ready? Oh my God, look at this. Planned,
look at us shilling.
Not.
Shilling
coincidence,
for
maybe.
I mean,
give us Uncharted 5.
Thank you to good pal of the show, Neelan, for giving us these shirts.
For audio listeners, I'm wearing a red shirt with the Naughty Dog logo, and Alessandro's wearing a white shirt with the Naughty Dog logo. And it's funny because I couldn't even see yours at all until you lifted your shirt.
Yeah, because I'm like cropped down. I just saw yours, and I was like, wait, I'm wearing that shirt as well.
Bitch stole my look, man.
I think that was actually the first.
It's the first.
Oh, okay, no, it wasn't the first time I'd met Neelan. No. I'd met him the year before.
First time I met him, yeah.
But it was the only E3 we did together, yeah. And we basically, he drove us around LA. It was fun.
LA.
And then he gave us shirts.
Felt like I was in GTA in real life when we went to that beach. I was like, I've run across
Venice Beach.
Yeah, I've run along this beach. I've punched people. It was weird to be standing here in person now.
Remember how windy it was? I think we were there with
Dave and
with Super
Garth.
2-Bits Dave, and SA Gamers Garth, and it was like so windy. And didn't we go to Universal as well? I know we always go there to shop. We never go to the actual park.
Yeah, we did go do some shopping. 100%, we did go do some shopping.
Yeah,
man, that is a fun E3. I've got such fun. I mean, it's the only E3 I've been to, but I've got such fun memories of that particular trip. It
was one of my favorites. Yeah,
saving cost for 4 dudes in one tiny motel room was a good time.
I mean, to be fair, okay. So when I saw the motel from the outside, I was like, oh God,
this is where we die. I've watched movies. Yeah. I've watched Breaking Bad. This is where drug deals happen.
But like inside, it was kind of okay. Especially like the bathroom was kind of okay, and that. To me, if the bathroom's okay, I'm like already 90% comfortable.
Yeah.
So when I compare it to the place that Zoe and I stayed in the year prior, it was definitely an upgrade.
Nice. I don't know how that is an upgrade, but cool. Well, you must have really stayed.
When I was staying with Zoe, she was like, wow, this is one of the nicest places that have been booked for me. And I was like, that's terrifying.
Wow.
So yeah, it was fun. I mean, the years after were nicer because we ended up renting out an Airbnb. But that motel was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty good up until the point where we were at the airport, like waiting to catch our flight, and Garth and Dave were still there. I think their flight was only the next day
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And Dave sends us a photo of someone being arrested.
No, it was a video of someone like on the floor below us, 100% being arrested by cops. Like, damn, we got out just in time.
Just like raided this dude's motel room, and we're just arresting him. And Dave's like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
It's like, I've seen this happen in movies. What the hell's going on here?
LA is such a wild city. It's
a good time.
I really do not like it there.
I mean, it's a big place, right? Like,
Oh, it's so big.
I
Yeah,
think
it's true.
where E3 happens, like central LA or downtown,
Yeah.
whatever. It's like,
Mm-mm.
I mean, I remember we probably like one of the first days when there's a bit more time to kill between. Well, was it first day, second day? Where, anyways, we took a walk to like one of the convenience stores, like 3 or 4 blocks away, and that's probably the furthest I walked, in LA. And it's quite something. Like every few meters is like a homeless person or just a person high out of their mind, just speaking absolute
Yeah.
nonsense, and it's very sad. You're like, huh. I
And
guess
that's not even like the worst parts. You go further down in downtown, you get to like Skid Row, which is like
I-
really, really poverty stricken, and it's horrible. It's like you tell people you've been to LA and they've got these like I don't know. I've met people who go, oh, that must be so incredible, and I'm like, nah, it's pretty
well,
not.
I
It's
mean,
kind of depressing and horrible.
being from South Africa, we're a third world country. You just assume that everywhere in America, first world country, they've got
Oh,
their shit
God.
together. And you know what, on a global level, they're probably obviously a lot more organized in South Africa, but that doesn't mean they have no problems. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's actually very sad, and yeah, it's a weird place.
It's
LA
almost
specifically.
the thing that I found the most like infuriating is just the disparity. There seems to be like no middle ground there. It's like
yeah.
it's like these incredibly opulent like houses when you go to like what's it like Hollywood Hills and Melrose and stuff like that. And then it's just you get to downtown and it's just tons of poverty. So it's a weird thing. Yeah, I like Santa Monica. Santa Monica's pretty nice, and Venice Beach is nice. But would I ever move to LA?
No.
It would have to be a really good deal to
You'd have to move in one of those. Is it Beverly Hills? You could live in one of those mansions.
Definitely
live your best life. I just remember on that trip specifically. That was, I think Lenska and I had been dating almost a year. And
I remember she recommended a place because we were just eating Subway.
Yeah, we were like, we're eating Subway every morning because it's just convenient and it's there. And Dave, for some god awful reason, just refused to eat McDonald's. Like McDonald's actually, I'll go on record saying the McDonald's breakfast is real good. It's way better than their main meal.
I think we actually got him to eat it once,
and he was like, "Wow, this is actually really good."
Yeah,
like, yeah, we could have had this. Like, but then I told Lenska, she's like, "No, I'll find a nice place for you guys to go eat one morning. That's not far." And she ended up finding was it like a donut place or something?
Yeah, it was a donut place.
I don't know why we settled on donuts, but it was like donuts sound like a good time. There's a place 2 blocks away. So we're already staying in downtown LA. We ended up going further downtown LA. And I just remember...
Firstly, we tried to get an Uber. And that was my first experience with an Uber driver who got to us, parked really far away from us. I could see them. Started the timer, so you have a minute to get to your Uber, and then drove away.
Yeah, it was a good time.
And I was like, what the fuck? Okay.
We were like, whatever. It's not that far. We'll walk. It's all good. We end up walking. We're like, oh my God, like we're getting into some Dodgeville over here. But whatever, it's America. We safe. We're from South Africa, we know. We're vigilant. Okay. We end up at this donut place and we walk in. And I'll just never forget, it's like this real, think of like the dodgiest, most rundown place you've probably seen in an American film. And there's like this sleazy looking dude behind the counter. And
he's like sweating.
And he's yeah. And you're like, okay, that's fine. What about the donuts? Look behind. There are donuts behind him, but they're like flies. And I was like,
there were literally flies on the donuts.
We're not eating.
I was just like, what the fuck?
It was funny because it's like four dudes just walk in. You're like, all turn around and walk out.
It was like the dude at the counter and some other dude at the table, and they both like turned to look at us. And it felt so like
I was
musty
literally
and
in a
dark
movie.
in there.
I was in a movie at that moment.
Yeah, and I was just like already walking in. I was like, this seems. And then as soon as we were looking at the donuts, and you're like, "There's a fly there," and I was like,
I'm out. Yeah,
I think by that point, David already walked out. He was already done.
He's like, "I'm going to Subway."
I think we ended up getting Subway that day again.
It's wild.
Oh fuck.
LA.
E3 is fun because of the people you go with. It really is.
Yeah, makes
it's
the
like
whole trip.
it's like these. It's E3 bookended by ridiculousness in LA. It's a trip. It really is.
Too much fun.
I missed it. I don't think I'll ever go again. Sadly,
I don't know if E3 will ever happen again.
Yeah, will E3 ever happen in person again?
Who knows?
Honestly, I think everyone was saying, "Oh, last year E3 got off lucky because it could blame the problems it was having with that show on the pandemic."
Oh yeah, but I mean, even before the
pandemic, this year
it's
like they're all going online, but there's all this like talking about how no publisher wants to pay their fucking 6-figure fee to be featured on E3's stream. Like, if they don't pull it together this year, that's it. I think it's done.
Why would you though? I mean,
why would you?
Like
exactly.
Square Enix, for example, we'll get to it in news, but like, if you're a Square Enix or a Ubisoft or an Xbox or a PlayStation, even I have to argue, like, even if you're an indie, there are platforms for you to try land your game, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know if Kinda Funny do it anymore, but they were one of the first people to be like, even
their showcase.
Yeah, like even
cool,
before last year's, like, so Jeff Keighley's obviously doing. I'm sure he'll do something because he did like Summer of Games last year.
He said he was doing Gamescom again this year.
Yeah, I mean,
but I think he said he's going to do Summer of Games again, but it'll be more condensed.
Yeah, but I mean, the point though is that there are other avenues that you can, land your game. I don't know the process of getting your game featured, but I think there are tons of platforms you can approach, to try.
I'm pretty sure it won't cost you $500,000.
But where it's the difference is like E3, you're gonna pay figures, and it's like, sorry, the reason I started out this whole story is like, if you're a Ubisoft, for example, you can just do your own show. Square Enix did it this week on their own day, of their own choosing. They got all the headlines.
They pretty much pulled it off, I think. I mean, I remember when they hosted their actual like
it's actual garbage
E3 event at E3, and it was awful. It was terrible. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's so much easier for them to like take the hit on getting all this recording software or paying like a team of editors to splice this shit together. It's definitely cheaper than what E3 is asking for. And then on top of it, like, you still have to make that presentation. E3 is just giving you a slot.
They're just giving you the slot.
They're just like, you can stream, you can use our Twitch channel. It's like, fuck off, no ways.
I mean, look, the E3 as a brand, like, I get it, it's iconic. It's been around for decades now. But like, I don't know. It's almost a thing of like, they should have maybe made the transition a long time ago. Of like,
no, they got caught. They got caught sleeping on their hands.
Yeah, like it's tricky though, because I guess they kind of did. Journalists did go to E3 all the time, and then I suppose as the internet became more accessible and faster, we just watched E3 from home. So it's like, what really changes there? And I guess they just didn't have I suppose the biggest missing factor is the hands-on time, which is what journalists really get out of E3. It's like, I get to go.
That's the biggest. The biggest thing, like, there are ways around that, especially for press in Europe and America now. Like, a lot of studios are setting up like parsec sessions so you can play the game remotely, which is not, it's not ideal. But then again, playing games at E3 was never ideal because it was like very rushed. It was code that was often quite broken. So. Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing it really, people like us will struggle because that was like a window for, or any other region. Like, I know when we used to go to E3, loads of South American journalists were there, loads of Russian journalists. Like, the countries that don't normally get access, E3 would be bigger for them than I think for the bigger sites.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are going to miss out now most because like they can't just go to an E3 and like get hands-on time with all this stuff.
Yeah, I'll miss the hype around it though. Like,
of course,
the E3,
the whole
week
event
is so good. It's always like, what is Sony going to do? What are Xbox going to do? And I mean, at the end of the day, you're still getting the same excitement. It's just staggered, I suppose, over like, when does Sony do a showcase now? When does Xbox do a showcase? So
no, but you're right. It's like that day with all the press conferences, like, people would bitch about it. I mean, I would bitch about it when I was there because holy shit,
It's a
that day was
gauntlet.
just
Yeah, it's
you
draining.
moving from one place to the next. But it was so much fun, like tons of fun, like sitting in a conference center or watching it from home and seeing like these big reveals, like God of War, Hideo
My
Kojima
God, that
announcing
was-
Death Stranding, like they're big moments that you'll never forget about.
Yeah.
And that all happened at E3. It might not happen because of E3, but it is intrinsically tied to that event.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's been nothing on that level since. You know what I
No.
mean?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
E3 video games.
Interesting to see what will happen in it's like 3 months now.
Yeah.
So
It's not
yeah.
that far. We're still in like
No, it's not.
quiet
It's
time,
not.
but things are going to get real busy.
Oh yeah, the things are gonna quieten down now in April, like May, and shit's gonna like spike. But then again, this year's gonna be weird, and we'll get to it in news. Like the delays are piling in,
Delays,
and they
yeah.
are gonna continue coming in. So I think Jason Schreier at Bloomberg said that 2021 is a good time to catch up on your backlog, and I think that's gonna be very true.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Unless you're
any
playing.
game with a release date now, you should completely ignore. So.
Unless it's Monster Hunter, which is out next week, and that's going to suck up plenty time. So yeah.
This checkpoint chat talk about video games. This is probably the longest
My
preamble we've
God.
ever had in a podcast.
And it was actually about video games mostly.
Can you believe?
Can't believe it.
I have been playing another indie game
My goodness.
this week. Indie games are going to be the lifeblood of 2021. Let me tell you that.
Probably.
And this past month has been really good. I mean, last week I spoke about Fights in Tight Spaces, which is in early access. The one I've been playing this week, Loop Hero, is not in early access. It's out, like officially.
My goodness.
And let me tell you, what a game!
I'm glad you played it because, like we mentioned a week or two ago, it seems like everyone is high on this game, and I watched the trailer. I was like, I
holy
don't
shit!
know.
This game is so difficult to comprehend. Even playing, well, okay, it's not difficult to comprehend. It's just such a weird, like, mixture of genres that initially you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So even watching the game, I think it's difficult to kind of pass what's going on. So the overall structure is you Jesus, I don't even know where to start. Okay, so let me start with like each. Yeah, you're a hero, and you
loop.
You're put into these procedurally generated loops. Every run that you do. So it's like a roguelike sort of. So this loop is generated, and your hero automatically just walks around there. And when he encounters enemies, you automatically fight them. It comes up with like a sort of Final Fantasy turn-based fighting thing. But you have no direct influence on those fights. You don't choose attacks.
Yeah.
You don't choose spells, blah, blah, blah. It's all automated.
Done,
so
yeah.
it almost feels like a clicker. You know what I mean? The game is kind of playing itself. What you do have influence over is your character's inventory. So what weapons he's equipping, stuff like that. And then also you get cards, sort of like a deck building thing, that you can that you can play that influence the land around you. So the entire premise is that some evil force, I don't know, at the beginning it's just the skeleton in a cloak, has he's kind of eradicated. I don't know if he's eradicated humankind or just eradicated their memories of it. So the idea is that your hero is the only one aware of this, like, there used to be things here, but now you can't remember what's there. And you playing cards is kind of like filling in the blanks of that memory. So it's like, oh yeah, there used to be a mountain there, or there used to be this there, or there used to be that there. So the cards you play are like, you can play rock and mountains, and they have impacts on your hero. Like it will increase his life by 2 health points. And your positioning of items on this grid also have an impact on that. So like if you place mountains adjacent to other mountains, then they kind of like boost each other's health benefits, stuff like that. But you also, most of the time, if you just continue on the loop that you're on, the enemies on that loop don't change, which is fine. But then your loop is also completely pointless because you are gathering very little resources
Okay.
through each loop, and the resources are what you use in the other components outside of runs to like upgrade your overall camp and progress the story. So you have to play cards that actively add enemies to your loop. So you can put in like what they call a grove, which spawns like wolves every 2 days, because your loop is also on a time day cycle, which is independent of the loop. So like during time moves independently of your movements on the board. So the longer you take to get through a loop, the more days that pass, to kind of get through one loop. But the spawn rates of enemies are tied to the days, not tied to the loops. So if you say you put down a grove I think spawns wolves every 2 days. So if you're not careful and your loop takes like really long, by the time you reach that point of the loop, it's spawned like 3 or 4 wolves instead of just one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've got to think about how you are making your loop efficient, but also manageable. Because at the end of the day, if you put too much shit there too quickly, you're just going to overwhelm your hero and then you'll die. Straight up. But then you've also got to get things that play off each other. So like the synergy I'm finding now is you can put a vampire house next to a tile and it will spawn a vampire next to any enemy that spawns on that tile. But you can also put down a swamp which spawns mosquitoes, and mosquitoes' effect is that any life-stealing abilities actually do damage to you. So if I build my hero not around counters and not lifesteal, but then I put the mosquitoes on the same tiles as vampires, then every time as the vampires use lifesteal, they actually get injured.
Hilarious.
Like there's so many small mechanics that like interlink in that way.
Yeah.
And that is what's seriously hooking me here because the game doesn't explain a lot to you. Like
it just lets you like do your thing.
It lets you figure things out. Like you will put, say, 9 rocks near each other and they'll suddenly transform into a peak. And then because it's a peak, now a half like will enter your loop. So you have to think about that. You have to think about, can I afford to do this? Or for every 5 meadows you place, for every village you place on the loop, which gives you health, abandoned camp spawns on the map as well. So you got to think about like the consequences of what you're doing to this loop and how it affects the loop. And a lot of that at the beginning is not explained to you at all. So it's a bit of trial and experimentation.
Yeah, because you'd think I'm going to put a village down because I need health. But oh shit.
Yeah. And then next thing, this thing spawns. You're like, what the fuck? And sometimes they spawn and it's not very clear that they've spawned. And then by the time you realize they've spawned, you don't actually know why they're there.
Hilarious.
So it's difficult to kind of figure out like what action did I take to make this happen? Which I think could be a bit better, It could be like, I'm almost like hesitant to say it should be spelled out to you because like finding these things out dynamically has been a lot of the fun. So, but it's great. Like you kill enemies, they drop loot, and the loot gets put in inventory, and then you are basically very actively watching your inventory because you are changing things out.
Control, really.
Yeah, you can control that and placing the cards. So it's definitely not a game that you can put on like a second monitor and kind of play idly. Like
you have to pay attention.
If you are not watching it meticulously, you are not going to succeed. And it's punishing. So
speaking my language.
Well, every time you finish a loop, you get back to your campfire and you have the ability to end the loop, like flee with all the resources you've gathered. If you die during a loop, you can only take 30%.
No.
And if you flee anywhere that's not at your camp, you only take 60%.
Okay.
And let me tell you, like, the resource grind is hardcore. There have been times where I've successfully like exited the loop because I'm like, I don't think I can survive another loop.
Yeah.
Like I would probably die. And I get back to my camp and I can build nothing. Because again, half the thing is like, certain enemies and certain structures drop certain resources.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll look and you'll be like, well, I need this thing, but I have absolutely no fucking idea how to even get that because I don't know who or what drops that.
Yeah.
So you have to balance those things. And then on top of it, you can only have 12 cards in your deck at a time. So as that starts growing, you have to be like, well, I'm going to remove vampires from my deck to add in this thing, but then what resource were vampires dropping that I might need, that I might not get on this run? So it's a real balancing act. And this is, so now you've got the loop and you've got the camp outside of the loop that you use resources to build, like, things around your camp that give you buffs when you start a loop. They open up new classes. They, it's a whole like other micromanaging type of game. And that's what progresses the story.
Okay.
But also what progresses the story is that in each chapter that you play, each loop has a boss. So the longer you stay in that loop, the more this boss meter fills up. And when it fills completely, then a boss spawns at your camp. So you can no longer flee. You have to face the boss or die. One of the two. And that boss, man, that boss is hardcore because I've beaten the first boss, but it took me like 3 attempts, and it's so disheartening getting to the boss, and like you're watching this battle unfold, and you can literally do nothing.
You're like, I'm gonna die. Hilarious.
Yeah, and you're just like, well, fuck. Yeah, he's just like, there's no way I'm gonna win this. It's also, I mean, you have to watch so many things. So you have to watch this boss meter, and you have to watch where you are in the loop. So when you get to your camp, you're like, God, I'm already down to like 100 health out of 1,000, and the boss meter's about to fill up. I should just end my loop now, cut my losses, So it's a lot of that. I've lost so many hours to this game where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna play one loop, and like 3 hours pass, and I've done like 3 or 4. It's got this sting of just one more time,
I know.
And also like this risk and reward thing. Like I get to the camp and I'm like, I could survive. I could do it. Okay. And like halfway through the loop, I'm like, fuck.
I could just go, go for glory here.
And there's nothing you can do. There's like, you've just got to hope at that point that you get a good weapon drop that maybe gives you good life steals so you can maybe survive. But then then you've got to contend with the decisions you made prior to that. Like, okay, if I equip my guy with a life steal sword, but I've put down tons of swamps, well, that's going to suck because now I'm just going to do more damage to myself. So
hilarious.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think
what are you playing
it's a great game. It's only on PC at the moment.
Only on PC?
Yeah, I think it's $130 on Steam. It's like super cheap. It's so good. It's really, really good. I can fully understand that it's not a game for everyone. But it's got its hooks in me, and it's a game that mixes so many genres. Like, it's not really a deck building game, but it's also not really a turn-based strategy.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
It's made its own thing.
And I think that's why I've loved it. I was trying to scratch something off my screen now, and I realized it's your mouse cursor.
Oh, is that on the screen? Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Which is really funny.
Just for people listening or watching, I don't know. OBS, there's a way to turn the mouse cursor off. But for some reason on the Discord capture, I can't do it. So every now and then, sorry, if it appears over Alessandra's face, like, let me just scratch his nose.
I was like, oh, is that a little thing on my monitor? And I scratch it. I was like, oh, it's a mouse cursor.
Look, I watched the Loop Hero trailer, right? Like I've said, and I was like, I don't know if it's like, I don't know what this game's about, if it's for me, but it's interesting the way you've explained it now. And can we all just acknowledge that if you had to put what you said down on paper, it sounds silly. Not because of what you said. It's just like, I have to
write a review for this, and I have no idea.
Yeah, how do you
break it down?
Like, you broke it down really well. Like, I understand how the game works, but still, to imagine playing it, I'm like, it's difficult to wrap my head around it. Yeah, but
I cannot believe how they came up with this idea. I was reading yesterday that the idea was actually a game jam game, and then they missed the deadline.
Oh, no.
And what they submitted was completely broken, but then they thought it was a cool idea, so they just continued working on it. So
but that's cool though. I mean, it's interesting because, like, from what you've explained, I completely hear you. Of like, it doesn't really fit into a specific genre, and I suppose the closest thing it resembles is what you mentioned earlier. It's like one of those clicking games, those auto clickers. where it's a thing of like those games traditionally, like you click 100 times and you can buy an upgrade that clicks for you every 10 seconds and you keep upgrading like passively. You like, it's a weird thing of like, you're not directly controlling the game, but you have influence over the game, if that makes sense. And that 100% sounds like this, where you're just doing loops and you're doing like external things that affect, how the game plays out. It's such a clever idea, actually.
It's weird because I really thought at first, I was like, okay, well, this is going to be a thing of me making an action and then just watching how it unfolds. But I'm like so active, like every single turn, or not turn, every single battle with an enemy, I'm like changing things because I'm like, okay, that didn't go well. It's almost like Final Fantasy Tactics, I guess, with like an idle clicking element to it. It's
hilarious.
It's wild. It's so good.
Well, it's something I definitely need to add to my wish list, because when you say things like one more run, I'm like, oof. This is it's me in those kinds of games.
I've really I think Shani actually said she came into the room one evening and she's like, I see you struggling with this game because I was sitting here like going through a loop, and then I let my greed get the better of me and then I die, and I'm just like, fuck. I'm just like, God damn it. Because you lose so much progress when not progress, but you lose so many resources and you're just like, God damn it.
But even that's the thing. It's funny because that's another little tick box or genre that it meets. It's like, that's very Souls-like of you can choose, like, do I turn back now and cash in my souls to level up, or do I just keep pushing that little bit extra, see, where do I go?
And it is that. It's all down to your decision and your greed at the end of the day.
And sometimes it works out. You go, oh yeah, it really paid off. Or you go, God damn it.
When I beat that boss, I got to him, and like within the first 5 seconds, I was like, nah, he's gonna kill me. And then something happened. Like I was wearing armor that had high evasion and high counters, and I just got really good rolls. I evaded like 3 attacks in a row, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this might work. Okay, so it's interesting just watching that like happen without any input. You just gotta hope and pray. And I think when I did kill him, I had like 50 health left, so like 1 attack would have killed me.
Amazing.
The story's also pretty cool because it's like, I don't know, it's like very meta in a way. It's like you playing this hero, and he's like, I want to restore the world to how it was, because I remember what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you face these enemies, it's interesting. Like, I think the one that stuck out to me the most was the harpy.
Yeah.
The harpy came down, and the hero's like, we should be working together to, restore the world to what it was. You know what I mean? Why are you fighting me? And the harpy's going, well, I don't want to restore it to what it was. I just want to feed my family right now, and you are meat. And the same with the vampires. They're like, we don't want to restore it back to what it was because we were hunted and reviled. Why would I help you? So it's like, one person's idea of the ideal world and what they want to restore is not the same to everyone else.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
That's cool.
So it's quite interesting.
And
it's written really well. I think the music is stellar as well.
Nice.
You're listening to a lot of the same music in a loop, but it's like this chip tune, like very old style music with a modern flair, and the boss music. Holy shit. Slaps.
It slaps real.
So fucking good. Yeah.
Good times. I'm keen to play it. I need to add that to my wish list. To play between with all this free time I have.
I want to watch you stream that because I just want to see the greed get the better of you, because I know it will.
The only thing I stream is, because you popped in on Thursday, is Counter-Strike. I've just been on this Counter-Strike binge for the last.
I saw you get an ace. I saw it happen.
It's a good time.
It was good. Get that man an ace.
Yeah, can I tell? Yeah, you even clipped it. Yeah, what a clip.
I
tell you, the last few times I've played Counter-Strike, my performance has been like shocking. I couldn't put my finger on it until I realized on Thursday. I was like, oh, my sensitivity's been completely wrong this whole time.
Oh no!
So I'm hoping.
So your muscle memory's just been
completely. It's just been awful.
I mean, when you got that ace, it just reinforced how much like I can't play Counter-Strike, because there were at least 3 out of the 5 kills there that it looked like your crosshair was not on the enemy when you shot, but you got the kill.
I got them.
So it's like a very quick motion that you're making.
Oh, just like adjustments, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like when from a spectator point of view, when you took the shot, your crosshair was like slightly off.
Yeah.
But I know that just before you've moved it, pressed, and then gone out of scope. So I can't actually see what's happened. You know what I mean?
I actually wish that game,
margins.
like, I think a game like that would benefit. So, I mean, if you play Counter-Strike, it's muscle memory. You look at the top right, or like any game, I suppose. You look at the kill feed, whatever, like, did I get the kill? But I think to someone who's never played the game, I think it would help to have an audio cue of like, you know, there's a reason some of my compilation videos, I put a little like ding, because there's things happening you might not realize. It's like, oh, like you actually got a kill there or something. Because even like those kills,
Call of Duty's really good at that.
Yeah. Man, that game too good. I need to.
I enjoy watching you play because you've got like a group of people who
speak so much.
They're the right amount of serious. Like they're serious, but they're not like, you know, like try hard. You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting because it's the same group of people I play Dota with. Well, I mean, most of them played Dota with back in the day, and I don't know if we've just mellowed out over the years, or it just shows that Counter-Strike's just a different kind of competitive that we don't take as seriously. Like, we obviously want to win, but...
I mean, it does help when you're playing against potatoes, like that one team. They were seriously not giving you any challenge.
We at a point now where we've fortunately like ranked up. We've reached like Eagle, which is a pretty high Counter-Strike rank. And it's funny because over the past like year, we were the people that we played against where we like low level, and then when the ranks were revealed after the game, like what the hell? Like the matchmaking screwed us. Why are we up against these like stupidly high level people? We are now the inverse. We're like, what the hell? Why are we against these people? Like we clearly outranked them.
And they clearly look at you and they're like, fuck this game.
Like, damn,
this game ever again.
But yeah, besides Counter-Strike, let me just make a little timestamp here. I actually took the time to play. Well, I've been playing a bunch of things actually. So I'm not going to talk about them, but I have been playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I will talk about when I've actually finished it. I'm pretty far in, like 7-8 hours. So,
how are you enjoying that Panther gameplay?
The game, I'll just say, I think it's the weakest of the trilogy. Like, it's not a bad game, but it's definitely the weakest of the trilogy.
It's a totally fun game.
Yeah,
totally fun. But it's. I did enjoy your image where you're like, you've come up to like a native lady in like this village, and the first thing she offers you is like a
no
fucking
sense.
MP5. Like.
Yeah, it's like, hello. I mean, it's this weird thing of like you're in this stupidly remote village, and you know this random merchant's like, hello, you can buy this bow and this outfit, this machine gun. You're like, what? Hold up, what are you doing? And it's funny because not pictured in that tweet, but like, it actually contextualizes it a little bit because she leaves the village. But still, I'm like,
yeah. She really doesn't look like the arms dealer type. No. You know what I mean?
I started Bravely Default 2 this week as well.
Oh, okay.
I've like literally played an hour. So all I can say is
grindy RPG ahead of you.
Yeah, all I can say is that it harkens to Final Fantasy of yesteryear. It's got like, you know, the 4 crystals, the wind crystal, the fire crystal, etc. It's got 4 heroes of light. Which
was the last Final Fantasy that did that? Like 6?
I don't even know if 6 did that because I can't remember if 6 had crystals. Maybe it did. I can't remember. But like the original Final Fantasies, I mean, all of them were like Final Fantasy 1 through to 5. I'll safely say are like, oh, the world has these 4 crystals, and oh, you know, the world is in peril because someone's taken them or something's happened to them. So
traditional MacGuffins.
Yeah, so Bravely Default is very much that traditional Final Fantasy formula of very on the nose. Like there are definitely wind crystals, and like one of the first people I spoke to in town was like, yeah, the 4 heroes of light will save us, and it's like, okay, this is very
sounds like a Zelda almost.
Yeah, but it's cool. Like I love, you know, Final Fantasy from yesteryear. So. Look, I'm still early days, but it's tickling that little nostalgia, the funny bone where it's like, oh, I know exactly where this game comes from. It's like a modern, old Final Fantasy.
I'm kind of keen for you to get into it because the one thing that attracts me to that game, because I don't think I'll ever play it, is just the combat system, the Brave and Default thing.
Yeah,
like I've heard it explained, and it's like that sounds. Awesome.
Yeah, so I've very briefly dabbled with it. So. Traditional Final Fantasies, it's a thing of it's turn-based, right? You take your turn, you queue up your turns, enemies queue up their turns, you go back and forth. But what Bravely Default does, it's got this risk reward system, I suppose, where you can string up a number of attacks, but you almost like go into debt, if that makes sense. Like so instead of taking 1 turn per turn, I can say, I want to take 4 attacks this turn, but I have to spend the next 3 turns recovering, my turn points, whatever they're called.
And then you pay interest to Tom Nook.
You pay interest to Tom Nook with all your bells.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I'm at the beginning of the game. It kind of makes sense where I'm fighting low-level enemies and I can just string together 4 attacks because I'll probably kill them and the fight will end and that resets, when I enter my next battle. Where I'm curious to see it play out is if I'm up against a boss where it's like, do I, queue up all these attacks in the hope of, doing some massive damage, or do I play safely and then like save it for right at the end? Like, I haven't really.
So what's the negative of chaining these? So if I take 4 attacks in 1 turn,
you can't
my
attack.
Next turn?
You can't attack.
For 4 turns?
For 4 turns.
Whoa, okay.
So you see,
okay.
Yeah, so, well, it's there's like obviously an underlying system, like a timeline or mechanic system where it's like keeping track of how because, it's not 1-for-1 turns. Like maybe your character's turn comes around faster because they're wearing lighter armor or because their specific class means
got
they're
you.
faster.
So it's got that active time meter thing from like Final Fantasy 7.
It's just
almost.
not like very explicit, but it's got that underlying system. So it's like I could take 4 attacks, but it's going to take me a while before I can actually. Yeah. The inverse, though, is what you can do a thing. You can basically default, which is you block for a turn and you queue up and you like save an attack, you bank an attack, if that makes sense. So I will bank up 3 attacks and then I can spend all of them in one go, without going into debt.
Without going into debt, okay. So, and apparently enemies can work on the system as well.
So they can also bank an attack or several attacks. So
that makes it tricky because like you could be like, well, this guy's just saving up attacks and he's just going to go.
Yeah, so like do I just defend or... So I'm curious to see how the game plays out because I've never played a Bravely Default before. And it's an interesting twist on the classic turn-based formula where like I can see it that, for example, I bank 3 attacks, whatever, and then I use all of them 1 turn, and then my next turn I use another 3 attacks to go into debt. But like, what does the boss do, for example? Is that enough to end the enemy or...
No, that's interesting.
I'm quite keen to play it.
I've just, like I said, everyone that I know who's played it, I think Garth from SA Gamer, good friend, said even, for him, who, he's really into traditional RPGs. It was grindy.
Very grindy, yeah.
It kind of like, it misses the mark on modern sensibilities when it comes to that sort of thing.
On the plus side, it's got the one modern thing it does have is that you can speed up the battles. You can
thank God.
breeze through them, which is cool. But one thing I've already noticed, I mean, I'm still, again, early days, whatever, but all the fights I'm doing now aren't really giving me a ton of XP. Okay. So I do wonder if that's how it's going to be for the whole game. Like, do I have to grind my way up, or am I just, because it's the beginning of the game?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But look, it's a game I'm keen to dabble with. And I'm setting up myself here for interesting times because Monster Hunter's out next week. Am I going to play these 2 really long games simultaneously? Probably. Like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I don't really like starting a game and not going back to it, but like, I'll see how things go.
I'm at that point as well where I'm like bouncing between so many games because I can't. I mean, I'm playing Loop Hero mostly, but I can't settle on something. So yeah.
But yeah, other than Bravely Default, I played a little indie game called Little Nightmares, which. So I've always heard of Little Nightmares, right? Sorry, I'm just time stamping here. This is what happens when I've got to produce the show and talk at the same time. So Little Nightmares 2 came out, like 2 months ago, I guess. It was like earlier this year, I think. And that game reviewed stupidly well to the point where some people were saying like, this is an early game of the year contender. And I was like, that's some really high praise. I've never played Little Nightmares. I'd like to. I've heard some good things about it. And I just saw it was on special on Switch. Stupidly cheap, like, I don't know how much it is, like 70 Rand, if that, maybe more,
Yeah,
maybe
it's
less.
quite cheap. I
And
think also grabbed it on Switch for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a short game. Like it's a 3 to 4 hour experience. It's like, well, I could really do with a short, quick little indie game. It's like a little palate cleanser.
Mhm.
And so, just to quickly sum it up, if you've played a game like Limbo before, or I suppose like you've mentioned Inside, it's Little Nightmares is very similar to those games in that you are literally just thrown into a world. You aren't told much, but it's you're
Yeah, it kind of just
solving.
starts, hey? It's
Yeah,
just
you
like,
you are solving puzzles with the most basic of mechanics. Like you play as a character called Six, if I'm not mistaken, and you're just this tiny character. Like it almost feels a bit weird because they don't give you any context at all in this game. Like you're just a character on clearly on a ship because items are busy sliding left and right on the floor very slowly. I don't know if you noticed that in your short time with the game.
yes, yes.
And you can jump, you can grab, you can pull, and you've got a lighter just to help you see in darker areas, and that's really the extent of ability you have throughout the game. And you'll use those simple abilities to figure out, like, you often land in a room, be like, well, how do I get to the next room? How do I get out of this room? And it's a thing
Mhm.
of maybe there's a lever on the wall that you need to pull. So you drag a chair over, you climb the chair, you pull the lever. Like that's a level of puzzle solving you're doing, but in very like interesting ways because it's not always explicit what you need to do.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but you're on this boat which has some very interesting characters, and as you mentioned before we started recording, leeches that just insta kill you.
They look super weird. They do the whole like, I don't know, the sound design
It's
is
yeah,
really good. It's again, that's what reminded me of Limbo. It's like eerie and
it's
creepy and
creepy
kind of
and
like, ugh.
sometimes disgusting. But
Yes.
yeah, the whole premise is you're given no context outside of you're just on this ship which has things or people trying to kill you, and you just have to get off it. And
Wait, are you on a ship?
yeah, that's what I said earlier. Because you'll notice in some rooms there's like items very gradually will slide along the floor because of the
Oh.
sway of the ship.
I didn't realize it was a ship. I just thought shit was happening. Like
Oh no no,
I actually thought you were a really small character in like a blown out world. You know what I mean?
yeah. So you
Like
are
Honey I Shrunk the Kids type of thing.
well, you are a really small character, but you'll see if you do go back to the game and play it, you'll see that in some rooms it's like it's intentionally done where there are items sliding along the floor with the sway of the ship.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and yeah, you are just trying to get off the ship, and that is really the premise of the game. And yeah, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it because it reminded me a lot of Limbo. Like that is the
Mm.
closest comparison I have. It's that good loop of you enter a room, you go, how do I solve this? You poke around a bit, you solve it, you go, oh, like I got the little dopamine hits. Next room, what do I do here now? All the while trying to avoid, death and
Leeches.
danger. Yeah, and leeches. I
It's
suppose,
also
yeah,
got that very like purposeful movement, like
yeah.
very slow and you know, it's not a platformer. It is a
No,
puzzle
yeah, not
game.
at all.
Yeah.
You are a child who's like very minuscule in this oversized world, and you can sprint, but you don't run very fast. You can't jump very
Mm.
high. If you drag something, you don't pull it very fast. It's like you said, it's very intentional, like purposeful.
Speaking of which, does it matter who you chose as your character?
Yeah. So what they don't make very clear is that if you play six, that's the main campaign. The other
Is that
characters,
the yellow
the
coat
yellow
one?
codes, and the other
Okay.
characters, the DLC, which
Oh,
I've since
okay. They should really tell you that.
yeah,
Like,
which I've since read up because you play as the boy on the same boat, but it ties back into Six's story. So
okay.
yeah, like I suppose you obviously have to play the main game before you play the DLC.
Yeah, because they don't make that clear. I was just like,
No,
oh, I can choose whoever, and I
who
was
I
like,
want to be.
raincoat. Hey.
I watched it. I saw the
Yeah,
raincoat
exactly.
person die.
It
Poor
just
Georgie.
whenever I see yellow raincoat, it reminds me of you and Lenska mostly because you've got the two yellow
It's
raincoats.
dope
It's very
yellow,
cute.
yeah. But yeah, so I think in Little Nightmares 2, if I'm not mistaken, 6 is there as well. I could be wrong. But yeah, I'm glad I played the
I
first one
think Little
because
Nightmares 2 is a prequel, if I'm not mistaken.
is it a prequel? Maybe
Yeah.
because what I find interesting about this game, like sorry, I keep going back to Limbo because it's the closest comparison. You kind of aren't told what the story is. You kind of have to just be like, huh, okay, this is what I think happened, or And Little Nightmares is very similar in that you don't get to the end and they say, oh, 6 was this character on this boat because XYZ. It's like, oh, okay, I'm off this boat, but what the hell was going on that? Like, what the hell were all those people on the boat? Like, what actually happened? Like, it's not made very explicit. I think there are certain themes that they're trying to convey. Like, the one that's made very clear, I think, particularly at the end of the game, is like I suppose, is it glutton or greed of humans? Yep. It's just, it's interesting. But sure,
now you really need to play Inside.
No, I need to play. Oh, it's tied to the same sort of themes.
You know, it's good that we're getting Little Nightmares because, like, Playdead, who made Limbo and Inside, they take like 10 years between games. Yeah, so and those it doesn't seem like many other people are making those types of games. So Little Nightmares is good.
It's interesting because I was put onto the game by a lot of other local streamers. Interestingly enough, I saw someone else playing a streaming Little Nightmares 2. She recommended I play the first one, and then one of a guy who often watches my stream, Oddly Otter, he's streamed Little Nightmares 1 as well, and I was like, oh, okay, like maybe I should check it out. The only criticism I'll say, particularly on the Switch version, is that the load times are
holy shit,
garbage. Yeah. Like it's not like you wait a minute, but you die.
Oh, it feels close.
It feels you die a fair bit in that game because a lot of it is trial and error. Like you'll enter a room and an enemy will be upon you. You know, you don't realize you might have to run immediately and you'll die, and you know you have to reload, and then you spend a fair bit of time dying and going, oh, I've got to wait to load in now, which is I don't think a problem on PC or you know any of the other consoles. I think it's a Switch problem.
I mean, it's enough that I played it for half an hour and I'm like, I think I'm going to play this game on PC because I'm just just infuriating.
I would recommend you play it. It's a great game. Like I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think there are 1 or 2 hiccups here and there, like loading aside, but it's got me real keen to play Little Nightmares 2, which I'll get to at some stage because it received such high praise from reviewers and people that I've seen play the game. So yeah, that's it. That's all I've been playing this week. Little Nightmares.
Nice. Should we get to game releases?
Game releases, yes. Let me just get a little timestamp here,
I think this week is actually like the big game releases of March. Can you believe we're at the end of March? Fuck my life.
Use VG 24/7. VG 24/7.
Yeah. So we're looking at game releases from March 20th, which is today, until March 26th, I think. Yeah, until March 26th. So
interesting.
It's stuff. There's still other stuff coming in the last week, but it's stuff. So firstly, we've got Tunch. I want to say Touche, but it's not that. Tunche. Tunch.
Touche.
Tunch is a charming hand-drawn beat-em-up hack and slash game with roguelike elements. Travel through 4 worlds, each with unique enemies, bosses, challenges, and stories.
Interesting.
If I'm not mistaken, it's got a pretty cool art style.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Looks like a nice art style.
Tunch.
Actually, yeah, this art style is really nice. Holy shit. I quite like this. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's out on March 23rd. March 24th is Tales from the Borderlands. So if you'll remember from, I think it was last month or earlier this month, those games got re-released because obviously the whole shitstorm that happened with Telltale a few years ago kind of like removed them from sales. So they've come back, and if you haven't played them, they're still really good.
Yeah.
Like really, really good stories within Borderlands. Really good Telltale games. So yeah, coming out on Switch on March 24th. Then Paradise Lost coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Let me just check what that is. Paradise Lost. Okay, it's a poem. Okay, so game. Paradise.
Amazing.
Paradise Lost. Explore an underground world where Slavic mythology mixes with retro-futuristic technology. Interesting. So is it like a first-person game?
What's it called? Paradise Lost.
Lost, yeah. Huh. Yeah, it looks like a first-person exploration game. Actually, it looks really good as well.
Paradise Lost. Here's the...
It's winter 1980. Simon? S-Z-Y-M-O-N. Simon? I don't know. A boy raised in a post-apocalyptic wasteland finds an abandoned Nazi bunker. Wow, bunker. Nice. Will he find what he's looking for? Play Paradise Lost and explore an underground world where Slavic mythology mixes with retrofuturistic technology. Interesting. Cool.
That gave me a mini inside vibe there.
It's like
not inside the medium.
It's like an alternate history thing where World War II had no end. The war just continued for 20 years. Only to end in flames when the Nazis launched nuclear missiles on most of Europe. Hectic.
My goodness.
I always like alternate history games. I think they're fascinating. So
it's a good time.
Yeah, that's out on March 24th. March 25th, Dandy Ace on PC. March 25th, Black Legend, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, S, and everything. Switch. Oh, that's everything. Jesus. Crash Bandicoot on the Run, Android and iOS.
I did not know there was a mobile Crash Bandicoot coming.
Yeah, it kind of looks like what's that one? Temple Runner, but Crash Bandicoot.
With Crash. Nice.
Yeah, Temple Runner.
It's got your name written all over it.
This is one I'm excited for. Genesis Noir. It was revealed last year as like in one of those like indie showcases, and then just suddenly got like a release date this week,
Surprise.
Just out of nowhere. So it's out on PC, Xbox One, and Switch. It's like I don't know how to explain it. Jazz punk vibe. Okay, let me get the official synopsis. Genesis Noir is an upcoming adventure game. The game follows the main character. Okay, no, wait, hold on. That's from fucking Wikipedia, so it makes no sense. A noir adventure spanning time and space. When a love triangle between cosmic beings becomes a bitter confrontation, you witness a gunshot fired by a jealous god, otherwise known as the Big Bang. Jump into an expanding universe and search for a way to destroy creation and save your love. Very cool. Oh. It's got a killer like jazz soundtrack, and the visual style of it is so unique. It's
nice.
It's really, really, really cool. I'm kind of very excited to play this.
It's out this week. Good Lord.
It's out this week. And then the final game this week is Kaze and the Wild Masks. I'm not sure what that is. PC, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and Google Stadia.
All of the things.
Nice. Cool. It's game releases for your week.
Oh my God.
Now we get Jesus.
There's so much news.
So much happened this week.
Heck. Hang on, let me
so much happened this week. While you're doing a timestamp, I'll pick the first one. So, I guess the first one is something that happened yesterday for us. Gotham Knights, the new Batman game coming from Warner Brothers Montreal. This is not Rocksteady's game. Was delayed till 2022. Game was originally meant to come out later this year, but COVID, and I guess in some weird way, the response to Cyberpunk last year has kind of like spooked a lot of developers.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers just said it's delayed to 2022. No release window beyond that. Their statement says, "We're giving the game more time to deliver the best possible experience for players. We look forward to showcasing more of the game in the coming months." It's kind of, this kind of made sense. They hadn't shown it since its reveal. So
yeah, they showed. They didn't do like a gameplay showcase, but it looked like they've got the system. Well, I suppose the overarching game is there, but doesn't really show how far the process is. So yeah, I think like you've said many times now, like this is an indication of things to come with COVID just really delaying things. Like this is probably the first of a ton of delays to come throughout the year.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's disappointing, but yeah, I think a lot of games, last year, pandemic affected some games already.
Yeah.
But a lot of those games were really close to the finish line already.
Yeah.
So it's the games that were a year or two into development and still needed another year or two that this, the whole restructure of how the studios work, it's going to affect them the most.
Yeah.
Imran Khan, he shared a tweet where he said he had spoken to some developers and publishers where, like, because the studios are so big and they're only allocated so many dev kits, not all the developers who need dev kits have access to them. So they have to remote access, PCs and stuff. So there's like actual schedules of like, I am going to need the test kit at this time on this day, blah, blah, blah. And that like causes just a mad backlog.
It's like a logistics nightmare, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can imagine for AAA development, it's a real fucking like nightmare to deal with. So I'm not surprised. This is definitely not going to be the first one. And I would say not even like 2022 games are going to be safe. So
am I.
Yeah, I think anything with the release date now, just like take it with a huge grain of salt.
Yeah. So
it's going to be interesting to see how it affects first party stuff. Like, will Horizon Zero Dawn still come out this year? You know what I mean?
Don't know. Like, we're still very early in the year.
I could see it get pushed.
Yeah.
We'll see. You can take the next one. What you do?
My God, there's so much news. PSVR 2, I guess. Let's have a look at these interesting looking controllers.
Them orbs.
Which, as Noel pointed out, you cannot throw them in anger.
They're strapped to you.
Yeah, they're like stuck to you. I think it's interesting that Sony are showing PSVR this early, given that I think they're only saying it's coming out next year. What I do like about this, though, is that, this isn't news this week, but the fact that they've said it's going to be like a one cable setup, which I'm very, very down for, because the biggest thing putting me off PSVR, the original PSVR, is that it was a nightmare to set up, which I'm sure you can confirm is an actual thing.
Yeah, just like the cameras, the Move controllers. Like, again, the PlayStation camera and the Move controllers were never designed with VR in mind. They were retrofitted.
It's very clever to like leverage them like that. It suddenly makes them relevant again, but not designed for that purpose.
No, and that's why these controllers look a lot better to me. Because they remind me a lot of the stuff that Valve has done with the Index controllers, and also Oculus did with their Oculus Touch controllers. So it kind of like mixes the best of those two controllers into one, where like the Valve Index, you will have individual finger detection.
Yeah.
So it will be able to pick up movements in your individual fingers. But it's also got the like round design of the Rift, and then also the like sort of like Sony small touches on there. Like it's got adaptive triggers.
Yeah.
It will apparently work without. The VR headset itself will track the controllers using that ring that's around like your wrist. So that to me indicates that there's no camera this time. That it's going to be like a inside out tracking solution, sort of like the Oculus Rift,
which is real cool. So
awesome. Yeah, like they've already said it's not going to be a wireless VR headset, but if it's only one cable connecting to the console and that's it, you like don't have to set up a camera or anything like that, then that's already a huge benefit.
And the controllers will be wireless though, right?
Yes, yeah.
So if it's just your headset, then we don't know what that looks like, but I think it's cool that they're getting the ball rolling, and it looks cool. Like I like the controllers.
It does, yeah.
So.
It looks distinct as well.
Yeah.
I think the big addition here is thumbsticks, because the Moves didn't have thumbsticks, so you were restricted to that whole like teleporting kind of movement in games. And since then I've played a lot on the Oculus Rift or on the Quest, and I played like Half-Life Alyx with using thumbsticks to move around, and it's not always the most comfortable for some people, but if you do get comfortable with it, it's the most natural feeling thing in VR. And I think PSVR originally not having that was just like it just sucked. So yeah, that's cool. I think the reason they're showing this now is because the PS blog says that they're taking it, or developers are getting it soon. So I guess they were just like, well, we don't want this to leak.
Yes,
You
let's
know what
just
I
get the
mean?
ball rolling.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes the most sense to me.
You pick the next story.
Staying with Sony, Sony partnered up with another company to basically purchase Evo, the biggest fighting game tournament series in the world.
Where did I have that story? I had it opened up here somewhere.
So yeah, wild. Sony's working in tandem with an esports venture called RTS. And they're basically now the partners with Evo to kind of keep the tournament going.
There it is. Hilarious. Yeah, it's quite a, I don't know, it still strikes me as a very interesting purchase because like I don't know, Sony make games but now they own a massive organization that does esports fighting esports, which I think you made the comments like, well, what does this mean for Smash at Evo?
Yeah.
What happens to all these other, like, look, I don't think that'll happen, right? It's just Sony owns them. Doesn't mean they'll, well, we don't know, but I don't think they'll be like, it's only Sony games, Sony fighting games.
I think Sony would be stupid to try and do that because, I mean, the fighting game scene would just, I mean, it would not work out. Like,
No.
Sony doesn't have that library. So, and I think Evo going into this would not sign a deal that allowed them to do that because it makes no sense for Evo as a tournament. But GameSpot did talk to Nintendo, who gave a statement saying Nintendo's enjoyed engaging with fans at past Evo tournaments and wish the show organizers the best with their new venture. We will continue to assess Evo and other opportunities as we plan for future online and offline Super Smash Bros. Tournament activity.
I mean,
that to me sounds like good luck.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
It's like we're going to go do our own Smash tournament.
Yeah. If I had to put money on it, that's Nintendo going, yeah, we're not going to deal with that. But that could be, that might not be a case of, Sony getting involved. Last year there were all those allegations against the long-running leadership at Evo, Joey Kula.
Yeah, it's
the sexual harassment allegations.
Yeah.
And like, does Nintendo want to be associated with that? No, probably not.
Probably not. So,
yeah. I think this is the best shot for Evo to continue in a year where it was rocked by that, and the pandemic really had a huge impact on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope it continues because I know it's so important for the fighting game community.
Yeah. I mean, it's the fighting game tournaments that everyone looks forward to. What else? Let me just close this. Oh, well, in keeping with Sony news, because we're such Sony shills, Sony is giving away a bunch of free games over the next few weeks, which includes Horizon Zero Dawn in April.
With the DLC. Mistaken. Yeah.
With the DLC. I think it's the 22nd of April. Oh, no, 19th of April.
Yeah.
But that list of free games includes Abzu, Into the Gungeon, Res Infinite, Subnautica, The Witness, Thumper, Paper Beast, Astrobot Rescue Mission, and Moss. I think those last 3 or 4 are VR only. I know.
Paper Beast is only VR. Astro's only VR. Moss is only VR.
Yeah.
I think Res Infinite might also only be VR. I might be wrong about that though. Yeah.
Still, that's
a lot of great games.
Yeah, some really good. I mean, there's a bunch I haven't played there. I've heard great things about Subnautica. I've heard awesome things about Into the Gungeon. Abzu's, is it the art director of Journey?
Yes, the art director who made a new studio. Yeah, and then so it's basically Underwater Journey.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. If you
Thumper,
it's a good time to be a gamer because like between Epic giving away free games on PC all the time, Sony now giving away free games, and like Game Pass. I mean, like,
and these are not tied behind PS Plus. This is part of Sony's Play at Home initiative. So the games will go up for redemption during a certain period, and if you redeem them, they are yours. They are tied to your account. That's it. no PS Plus needed, no nothing. Just don't be silly and don't redeem them. You know what I mean? But yeah, Thumper from that list. Thumper is the one that, holy shit, more people need to play that game because it's so good.
Thumper.
It's
Does
like
it slap?
It's like heavy electro rhythm based game. It's just so good. It's got some of the best game feel out there. It's really, really good. Yeah.
So yeah,
if you have VR, that game in VR is transcendent.
My goodness, really it's like being on speed.
It is being like on speed. It's wild. Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Sticking with Sony.
My God.
I think this is the last bit of Sony news we have. Assassin's Creed co-creator Jade Raymond has formed a new studio, Haven Entertainment Studios. They are independent. They're not owned by Sony, but they have entered a publishing deal with Sony, and she will be spearheading a new IP for them. So think of it as the same thing as Hideo Kojima and Death Stranding. Death Stranding was a PlayStation exclusive at launch, but his studio is not owned by Sony. And I mean, it ended up coming out on PC, published by someone else. So I think that's the same sort of thing here. Jade Raymond, if you're not familiar, she co-created Assassin's Creed with Patrice Désilets at Ubisoft. I think her last Ubisoft project was Splinter Cell Blacklist in 2013. And after that, she left and spearheaded a studio called EA Motive, who helped with some Star Wars Battlefront stuff. They were working on a new IP that got cancelled. Just not a great time.
It's all of the things.
Yeah, she then served as the head of Stadia Games and Entertainment at Google before Google shut down all the internal development studios in February. She had left, I think, just prior to that. Now she's just, Jade Raymond deserves to put out a game. She's one of the most recognizable designers in the industry, and she deserves a break, I think. So,
goddamn,
I feel the same as like Amy Hennig. Like after Uncharted, Amy Hennig was doing the Star Wars thing at Visceral, and I think she's working on a new IP now at another studio. Like they both deserve just to catch a break.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. Next piece of news. I suppose we can jump to just give Xbox some love. Where Outriders is this article says looks like Outriders might be coming to Game Pass, but it is confirmed that it is in fact coming to Game Pass as a day one launch. I guess so. Outriders not in April. I love every piece of communication I've read about Outriders has always started with, because it launches on April 1st. It says, "This is not a joke. Outriders is coming to Game Pass." So, I mean, I haven't played the demo, so I can't say I'm really excited for this game, whatever. But I think it's just a really cool deal. Like Game Pass, we all know that Microsoft games and our Bethesda games will be like day one available on Game Pass. It's just such a neat service where it's like literally the Netflix of games, where on day one you can just get this brand new title. It's not just this backlog of like hits from yesterday or whatever. Like there's 100% sprinklings of these brand new titles. And Outriders is a game where I don't know if it'll be good, I don't know if it'll be bad, but it's free on Game Pass, so like why wouldn't you try it? Like what do you have to lose if you've got a subscription? So
no, 100%. I think I honestly think this also just gives Outriders the best chance it has.
It's like instant player base,
Yeah, completely. I mean, there's, I've seen people already like, well, I wasn't going to try this out, but I mean, now that it's just a download, I might as well, you know what I mean? So it's sadly not included on PC. It's only on Xbox. But yeah, I mean, Game Pass continues to be awesome.
Yeah.
So that's awesome news.
Just on Game Pass. So Xbox Game Pass for PC now has EA Play.
Finally, God.
So EA Play is basically EA's own subscription service, which is a bonus perk if you're an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. Although On PC, you don't have to be an Ultimate subscriber. I think if you've got Xbox Game Pass for PC, you just get EA Play.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
that's correct. Yeah.
So that if you have Xbox Game Pass for PC, you suddenly have access to games like Battlefield 5 and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And you said you have downloaded Star Wars Squadrons, which came out like not even 6 months ago.
You're forgetting the big one though. You get access to Anthem.
To Anthem.
Fuck yeah.
You get access to The Sims. Okay, let's be real here. I'm sure that's on EA Play.
It's a great thing that it's just bundled in because it used to be its own subscription service. And I mean, it was cheap. I was subscribed to it for a while on PC. It was like $50 a month. But it just being included with the Game Pass is great. It also gives you access to... So I actually don't know if this is part of the Xbox stuff as well, but I know when I was subscribed on PC, when a new game came out, you could play it for 10 hours to give it a go. And that's how I played Anthem for 7 hours and then realized that I never wanted to play Anthem ever again. So yeah, I don't know if that's included with that. There's also on PC.
I have to believe it will be though, right?
Yeah, I think it will be because like I think you also get a discount on games that you trial like that, and also your progress carries over. On PC, EA still has EA Play Premium, I think it's called. I don't know. Which is basically like EA's full-on Game Pass. It's like every release you get unlimited access to.
And that's day one as well. Like that's how I played Fallen Order. I subscribed for a month, played it, and then
I think it's like $150 for the month. Yeah. So yeah, it's cool. It's a bit of a weird process getting it set up on PC because you have to download the EA Play app, then you have to subscribe there, then you have to go into the Xbox app, find an EA game, hit that, then it prompts the EA Play thing, and if you haven't linked the two accounts, then you have to link them there.
My goodness.
I had to close and reopen the apps every now and then because they weren't recognizing that they were like handshaking with each other. So yeah, if you are running into that thing where that happens, I also have the issue on this Xbox app because I created an Xbox Live account ages ago before Xbox Live was supported in South Africa. So I have a separate Hotmail address to the one that I, use on my PC as my main profile. Yeah. So every time I open the Xbox app, it's like, yo, there's two profiles here. What's going on? And I'm just like, no, use this one for this app. And every time I do that, it's like, you should resubscribe to Game Pass. I'm like, I am subscribed. And then I have to close the app and reopen it. And it's a fucking mess.
Oh my God.
You also can't merge two accounts. So I'll never be able to escape from this issue. But yeah, that's just my 30-second rant about how fucking terrible that part of it is.
Well, I mean, I suppose that is a great segue to bounce over to. So getting those systems to talk to each other, okay, it's a headache. Let's talk about Marvel's Avengers here for a hot second.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so before we get to that, okay, I think, was this at the Square Enix showcase that we touched on earlier?
Yes,
which we still have to actually get to. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But they basically laid out a roadmap for Avengers, and we'll get there, which includes, there's some Hawkeye content, there's a whole lot of other bits and pieces, but I think the biggest one people are most excited for is probably War for Wakanda, which will make, introduce Black Panther to the game.
Hell yeah.
Which I think is especially special because of, what happened to Chadwick last year. I think it was actually pushed out because of his death. So I think people are very excited to play that. And look, whether it'll get people to play Avengers, I don't know. I still think it'll be an interesting piece of content. We'll just have to wait and see.
I'm keen enough to like re-download it and give it a go at that point.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah. It also brought about news that Spider-Man is still coming, but he was planned for summer, I think 2021, but delayed. But I think the biggest
Square Enix really fucked that whole situation up, right? Because
that's just
there's no way that works out like in a good way. Like either Spider-Man comes out and it's been like more than a year, and then it's still exclusive to PlayStation, and then he's awesome. So then you've got a game that's already struggling for an audience. Now you've pissed off like 2/3 of that audience because you made. And then the other situation is that he comes out and the character sucks, and then PlayStation players are like, well, why did we wait for this? And then no one is happy. So
Everyone loses, yeah. I don't know. This game is...
That was a dumb idea.
This game is very, sorry to say, very fast approaching being the next Anthem, which I never want a game to fail. Like, never.
But man, it's just...
This whole thing now, so it's out on next-gen consoles. If you have an Xbox, you just download the game on your next, your current Xbox Series X, Series S. I think you probably sync with the cloud or you do some sorcery. Your game's there.
No, you just launch the game. And
you just launch the game.
Its thing.
Okay.
Yeah, does its thing.
On PlayStation, though. Okay, ready for this?
Shit.
You have to... So let's take me, for example. I've packed up my PS4. It's just, it doesn't exist anymore. It's in the cupboard. If I want to play this game in PS5, which I would. I want to play the Black Panther expansion, for example, one day when it launches. I'd have to get my PlayStation out, re-download Avengers, launch the game, have it like patch in-game, sync with the cloud, and only then I can now play my PS5 version, which makes like no sense.
You have to launch the game and manually tell it to upload.
Yeah, sorry, manually upload. Yeah, you have to manually sync it to the cloud, and then only then on PS5.
I mean, you could download the PS4 version on your PS5.
But why would you do that?
But you'd still have to go through that whole process.
Okay, so I wouldn't need my PS4, but still, I'd need to re-download the game.
You'd have to launch the PS5 version before you delete the PS4 version and then bring down your save. If you exist on Twitter or if you read gaming news, which for both parts is the minority of video game players. Like, you probably saw a tweet or an article and you're like, cool, I need to remember that, and do it.
Yeah.
But what about, like you said, for the people like you and me, I deleted that shit because I need space. Now, I just want to try out the new update. Am I going to go through that whole process to get my save? Not a fucking chance.
Yeah, probably not.
And regular people who get the upgrade, they just download the game and they're like, well, where's my progress? Like, what's happened?
Yeah.
They have no idea, what's going on.
What's going on?
The thing that bugs me the most about this is that this is a live service game. Why is this even a thing?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Destiny does not have this issue on any console because all of that shit is server side. Like, the games that have had this issue on PS5, because for some reason some games can get around this with no issue, is like Spider-Man Remastered, which is the most mind-blowing one because it's first party. Crash Bandicoot 4 was the same thing. But like, other games just don't have this issue. So why is it some and not the other? And then why does a live service game have a local save for your campaign progress? Why is that shit not in the cloud with, your character levels and your gear? Because there's not a chance that shit is saved locally.
I don't know. You're asking me all these questions. I have no answer.
It infuriates me. It's so...
My goodness.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla doesn't have this issue, and that is a single player game.
That blew my mind because I thought when I got my PS5, I was playing Assassin's Creed on the PS4 and I had to switch over. I thought I'd have to do some, hoop jumping to get it working, and I didn't. I just downloaded Valhalla.
Valhalla has a system that is simpler than this, that lets you take your save to other fucking platforms. And it's easier than this. Come on, man.
I mean, come on. Yeah, I don't know.
It's so dumb.
It's like if this wasn't a Marvel game, it would be dead. Like, yeah.
No, the game. I want to boot up this thing on PS5, but I know where I left off on the campaign. But
we're going to bounce over to the good side of the Square Enix showcase, which was we're going to have to fly through this news. Well,
the showcase itself was kind of like they didn't focus on many.
No. I'm talking
projects,
about other stuff. So maybe we should just get out the way quickly of Dying Light 2.
Oh yeah,
still coming this year apparently.
Yeah, they teased this whole big announcement because they haven't spoken about the game since January 2020. And earlier this week, the developers were saying, "Yeah, we revealed this game way too early." But yeah, they put out a video basically saying it was a 2-minute video. They hyped up for a week a 2-minute video of them being like, "Yeah, we're going to talk about it later this year," which was kind of weird to me. But at the end of the trailer, they just had 2021 there, so I guess it's still coming this year. I don't know.
Well, I would love for it to come out this year because we spoke about this last week. Actually, I think maybe it was the teaser we spoke.
Probably.
I'm keen for Dying Light 2. I really enjoy Dying Light 1.
Me too.
So, bam. Fortnite Season 6. Fortnite.
Just go watch that trailer. Holy shit.
My God. Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 6. So this trailer, if you've been sleeping under a rock, Fortnite has brought every like major franchise under the sun into their game as like a skin. So you can boot up Fortnite and you can go get a Kratos skin or Master Chief skin or an Alien skin or like a Street Fighter skin.
Yeah.
Now so they've launched Season 6 now, which is like their latest season, whatever. But they launched it with a trailer that basically brought a whole lot of these characters into one epic cinematic, which you said was directed by
the Russo brothers, who directed Avengers. Yeah, it's wild.
I can't even deal with this. I mean, what timeline do we live in where, movie directors are busy?
Crazy.
My goodness.
And apparently they wrote a lot. They worked with the team at Epic Games to write some of the character arcs for the rest of the season. So,
I mean, this
is a cinematic where Ryu Hadokens the banana Fortnite man and kills him. So it's real good.
I don't know. Good. But Fortnite is one of those games where like, I have to go revisit this one day. Like, I'd love to play Fortnite again. And the reason
I hopped in for a second just to when they put in the Mandalorian content, and I had no fucking clue what was going on in that game. I was like, what are all these new things? It's a whole thing. I think if you're invested in that game, it must be so fun because there's so much new shit added all the time. It's pretty cool.
Oh, here we go. Here's the moment of dead. But what's interesting is that so Season 6 is obviously bringing a whole lot of new content, which interestingly enough includes Tomb Raider stuff because Tomb Raider are celebrating, it's the 25th anniversary of Tomb Raider. Mm-hmm. So Lara Croft is going to be a skin, but not just any skin. I think there's like the modern version of her, there's a retro version of her. And I don't know if that's in this article, but I did see this week that they are also adding the Croft Mansion as an area in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Like, that's just cool, man. Like, come on.
It's fucking cool.
Fortnite is just this big playground where they can literally touch anything and make it sense in their world, which is really cool. So,
it's a cool thing. And Noelle was actually saying that she really likes the design, the way they've Fortnited Lara Croft in a way. I think the design, you can see which of the three periods each character is referring to, but at the same time it's stylized like so well.
That Fortnite really style is real good. I think you can put any character in that style and they'll look good. So it's who's this character?
I have no idea.
No idea. Okay, maybe that's a Fortnite thing. I was like, I don't recognize this character.
I have no fucking clue.
Okay, but that's Fortnite. We've spoken about Black Panther. I suppose just quickly, Xbox is doing an indie game showcase
this coming week, I think. Yeah.
So that's cool.
Stalker 2 footage. Stoked.
Nice.
I'm hyped for Stalker 2.
Yeah, just more games coming. And it's just really, I mean, we spoke about this at the top of the show about where do indies show their games. Xbox is doing an indie showcase. So, yeah. And I suppose let's end with this little nugget of the Square Enix showcase. So we've touched on a bunch of stuff already, right? Like, okay, we didn't touch on Life is Strange has a new game coming out called True Colors.
It's also along with a remaster of the first game and its prequel. Yeah. I'm keen for I never played the first game, so
did you not play the first game?
No, I haven't played any of them.
I played the first chapter of the first game, and I really liked it. I just never finished it for some reason.
I've always heard they're really good, especially the first one. I heard more good things about that than the second, because it's the first one, then a prequel, then the second one.
Yeah.
So this is a third one, but they were all self-contained stories, just kind of within the same universe.
What's cool with, so the next one's called True Colors. What people might be very happy to is that it's not episodic. It's just going to launch and you can play the whole thing in one.
I think that's really what killed the second one. The gap between episodes was ridiculous. So
I mean, it's a good and a bad thing, right? Like, I remember playing Telltale games like The Walking Dead, for example, I actually kind of enjoyed the gap between episodes because it gave me something to look forward to. But I completely understand how it can like be. Well, it doesn't work if there's too big a gap between.
Yeah, but that's
the
exactly it.
releases.
Like Telltale's first few games didn't have that. It was like every month a new episode.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that started taking on more and more and more games, the
just
gaps
fell
became
apart,
like 3 months, and it was just too much. Like it, yeah.
Yeah. So they also showed some Outriders, which we said is coming to Game Pass. Bell and Underworld, which
it's meant to be Bell and Wonderworld. But anyway.
This is, I can't believe you did me like this, Darren.
I mean, it's right there in the trailer.
I mean, Bell and Underworld. I don't know. This game, from initial
this game looks fucking terrible. I'm sorry.
Seems that it is hot garbage, which is sad because when the trailer when it was revealed, was it last year? Sometimes like,
yeah,
it doesn't look like it's my jam, but I can see it being a thing, like an IP or whatever. Does not seem like it's a good time.
The demo is so bad.
The game's not out, so I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
It's out this week, so
we'll
good luck.
We've touched on Tomb Raider. It's Laura's 25th anniversary, which means you can play as her in Fortnite and you can buy her cookbook, which has
no new game, but cookbook.
Just a cookbook. Oh, and I suppose, like we've mentioned before, there's a trilogy.
It's like packaged all the
reboot
3
trilogy.
new games, but they're not remastered or anything. It's just the games packaged.
Look, they're not that old to begin with. So
yeah, that's also true.
The trilogy is real good. Like, I'm not fond of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Not fond of it. To me, it's more Tomb Raider.
Can you believe the reboot came out on PS3?
What? Which one came on PS3? The original,
the 2013 one. Yeah.
My goodness, that's
wild,
crazy. We've touched on Marvel's Avengers. Just Cause is getting a mobile game.
Oh, fucking good luck to that. That game hardly runs well on consoles. I can't imagine its destruction.
On a mobile.
Jeez, good luck. That's all I can say.
I think, is Hitman Snipers Assassins also a mobile game?
Yeah, this is super weird though, because like Square Enix were the ones that were like, we don't want to make more Hitman, and IO Interactive was like, okay, and they basically took the Hitman IP away with them and did Hitman 2 and 3.
Real good now, yeah. I mean, not that it wasn't good, but
I'm sure Square Enix had to pay them a bunch to use an IP that they previously owned, because
insane.
this is being made by Square Enix Montreal, not by IO.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, then as Darren said, is saving the best for last. Square Enix showed off a game. So just remind me, Project Athia was what was showed with was it
PS5.
the Epic? Hey?
No.
Oh, is that separate, right? It's a different thing.
No, yeah. So the Epic tech demo is its own thing.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure, because there's this one shot where I'm like, that looks so familiar. But where did they show? They did tease us. I remember them teasing
at
this.
the PS5 reveal.
Was it the PS5 reveal? Okay.
Yeah, it was a PS5 thing, and they were like, "Oh, it's exclusive to PS5," and then the trailer said PC as well, and people were like, "Wait, what?" But it's using the same engine as Final Fantasy 15, the Luminous engine. So yeah, it was called Project Athia, and it was a whole big thing. Was like, oh, this cannot work on any other console because it's making exclusive use of PS5. I say never take that sort of shit seriously, because like Google said that the latest Bomberman would only work on cloud infrastructure and it's not coming to consoles. So people lie, marketing is marketing.
If you take one lesson from this podcast, it's that people lie.
Yeah. Maybe it will turn out to be true, but you can never take that at face value. Anyway, it is only coming to PS5 and PC at launch, which is apparently in 2022, but it's now called The Forspoken. And holy shit, this game looks good.
So you sent this trailer on WhatsApp. So I didn't watch the Square Enix showcase because I think, was it Thursday?
Yeah.
Yes, I was like gearing to stream, whatever, so I just never watched it. You dropped this trailer, you're like, holy shit, like look at this game. And then I watched it the next day. And so for people who are actually watching on YouTube, you looking at it now, we see the actress who's playing the main character, and we see this little cinematic with a dragon. And I'm like, I don't get it. Why are you so excited about this game? Like it looks, it's
weird because it's like a normal person in like a mythical world.
Yeah, I'm like the setting's cool. Okay, that's cool. Then they showed like this fancy little animation, which is the game logo,
name,
whatever the name. I'm like, I don't get the hype. I really don't get why you're so excited for this game. And they reveal, look, it's Forspoken. Like, wow, it's got a name now. And in the last 10 seconds of the trailer, they smack you with some actual gameplay, and you go, holy shit, this looks awesome.
Yeah, just the like the traversal. You like sprinting through areas and teleporting and jumping.
Oh my God, it looks
and the areas just look incredible. Just absolutely beautiful stuff.
You stoked. So if you've watched the trailer and you pull the me and you're like, it doesn't look that good, just watch the last
go to the last
10 seconds and you go, I mean, not that it didn't look good. I was just like, it's a trailer. Like we haven't even seen gameplay. It looks
It reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy 15, like the desolate like areas.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah.
So that's 2022. And I think that is a good way for Square Enix to end their little showcase. I mean, I think there were sprinklings of some good things here. And I suppose that's news for the week. There was a bunch to get through. Oh my God, we are so
much to get through, yeah. Okay. If you want to send us questions, because that's where we're heading to next, you can email us, checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can always find us on social media at Checkpoint Chat on Twitter, on Facebook.
All the things.
Checkpoint Chat Podcast on TikTok, because,
I've only posted one TikTok. I haven't had time to make more.
Because you're still sad about the fact that we don't have our actual handle.
I'm still sad. It was robbed. We were robbed of our own handle. I mean, what a time to be alive. Okay. I know we had one on Instagram, which I saw this morning from good friend Bester Bash, who says, there's a few that came in. Is there a Hades Anonymous group I can join? I have a problem.
Yeah, he was chatting about it on your Twitch chat as well.
Yeah.
I need to paint this fucking picture for you. Okay. So he was talking. Do you understand yet what you're saying?
I think I understand what was going on. It's just to read it, to like focus on my Counter-Strike and try to understand what was going on. I was like, I don't quite get it. In my head, though, I'm still adamant that you should finish the game with each weapon on no heat level.
I tend to agree, because like if you're stuck on Hades and then you're making that final fight even harder, like
or just the journey of getting there harder, like just don't do it. But is there an anonymous group you can join? It's actually Bester's fault that I booted up Hades. I booted up Hades on Tuesday and I did 2 runs, and that game still slaps so hard. Like, and it's his fault, because I know he's been playing. And I was like, I've got an itch to do like 1 or 2 runs myself. And I played my 2 runs, and I was like, I really need to play more. I
still haven't played. I haven't finished it the 10 times you need for the story to finish. I've done like 7, I think. So
hang on, I put out a tweet. Let me just find it quickly. I'll tell you how many times I've finished the game, because I played it.
I saw your tweet. I think it said 18.
I've
finished with each weapon now, so I'm happy about that.
No. My streak is 19. I've finished it 19 times in a row without dying.
Sorry.
I've finished it 51 times.
Fuck. Okay. Yeah, I think I saw the streak then.
I've played this game a shit ton, and I still feel like I have more. I've still got things to do on that like Fate of Prophecy list, whatever. And one of them is like, it's specifically to progress the story even further. I'm like, I don't know how to do that, but I still need to do that.
It's probably like some side characters or something.
Hades, guys, if you haven't played Hades, it's such a good time. Like,
what a game.
I cannot stress enough. And if you like Hades like I do, I would recommend watching No Clips documentary. It's a 6 parts. I think it's 6 episodes just on the really development of Hades. And it's fascinating to watch, because so No Clip, I think, traditionally do like a, once off, like here's an hour long or an hour and a half long documentary on the development of this game. Whereas the Hades documentary was a mini-series of episodes released every 3 months or so. And it shows the game in early development from like 2 years ago through to it being developed through Corona, when Corona hit, and post-launch, like them getting all the awards and stuff. And it makes, like for me at least, it makes me appreciate the game even more, because I'm like, I know this came from a small team who worked very hard and they thought we don't stand a chance against, triple A titles. And they walked away with a shit ton of Game Awards, and they continue to win awards today. And it's like, it's well deserved. It's like, it's made by a team of 20 people. Like, it's a small studio, and like, hats off to them for putting so much love and care into this game, and it's paid off. Like, it's such a good game.
Yeah, 100%. It's it's a phenomenal package. And I think, like you said, it deserves all the awards it gets, but also like that NoClip documentary shows just how careful they were with the small things that make that game brilliant, and it's just a really cool insight into game development.
I think any material that looks at game development, like we've often mentioned Jason Schreier's book Blood, Sweat and Pixels, which every chapter is just a behind the scenes look at the development of a game. It just gives you like a whole different appreciation for, as we often say on this podcast, like the fact that games are actual sorcery, that they exist. It's insane. Like, we actually, sorry, there were two more from Megs that popped up on Twitter. What is your favorite animal sound and why?
Animal sound.
What's your favorite animal sound?
I don't know if it's my favorite, but there are two that I find consistently confounding and interesting. It's the sound of a zebra is completely different to what you think it sounds like.
Is it not a zebra going, nay?
You'd think it sounds like a horse, but it sounds weird.
I've watched The Lion King. They make, I can't even, I'm not even going to try to replicate.
It almost sounds like a horse underwater. You know what I mean? It's bizarre. It's so weird, and I think it's so cool. There's one song, I can't remember if it's the Kiffness or it's some local artist that sampled that sound in there. Like for the longest time, I didn't even know that that's what it was.
Oh my God,
someone pointed out, like, oh, that's what a zebra sounds like. That sounds like a sound like someone created on a soundboard. It's fucking bizarre.
Hilarious.
The other one is foxes. Foxes make the strangest but cutest noises.
Oh, they're cute though. Foxes are like the perfect mix of a dog and a cat.
Yeah, they just when you see those videos of people scratching them, they sound like they're laughing. They're just like, and you're like, why is this animal making this noise? It's so strange. They're so
I'll
cute,
never look at a fox the same way again. I'm just going to imagine the Joker now.
It does. It's like, what does the fox say? And you just hear Mark Hamill's Joker like laughing in the background. Yeah, exactly.
I suppose not my favorite sound, but I do find it interesting that cats purr. Like, it's just a weird thing of like when they affectionate, they purr. Like,
Isn't it still like a mystery as to why they do that? Or is that
there's I don't think there's an actual science. It's just, that's what they do.
And purring is a super strange thing. Yeah.
And it's very therapeutic, let me tell you. There's nothing better than a cat coming to purr, like if you've had a long day or whatever, and you're just like, I feel so much better now.
Have you ever heard a lion purr?
No.
That shit will shake you down to your core.
Oh my goodness.
It's such a low like rumble. It's like you can hear them purring, but it's just like it's shaking your whole body. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Oh my goodness. Next question.
Just ask Lupin to like tap into his heritage.
Come here, Lupin. I don't even know where he is. Meow. What game are you most hyped for? What games are you hyped for? Mine are
this year, next year.
I don't know. Mine are Superhero, Severed Steel, and Broken Pieces. I don't even know any of those.
Wait, was that one game or multiple?
I think that it's multiple. I don't know.
You never know. Some game names that just go on and on.
I suppose the one that comes to top of mind is Breath of the Wild 2. There's no actual release date, but it's Breath of the Wild is 4 years old now, which blows my mind because it does not feel like it is that long ago that I played that game. And Lenska's mentioned recently, she played Immortals Phoenix Rising. She played Little Nightmares. I was like, I don't know if that's the game for you. She didn't quite enjoy it. And she said the other, like, maybe I should play Breath of the Wild. I'm like, oh, yes. Maybe I should play Breath of the Wild again.
Yes.
Maybe I should do it again. But yeah, Breath of the Wild 2 and definitely Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2, whenever that is.
Intergrade.
No, not even Intergrade. Just the next
I just wanted to say integrate because it's such a dumb word.
Integrate, yeah, man. It's an actual word, but yeah, integrate.
It's not an upgrade, it's an integrate.
It's an integrate. It's an intermediate.
I
grade.
still love in that trailer. It's like graphics come to PS5. It's like, wow,
Whoa!
holy shit, graphics, no
I can't
ways.
believe that. What are you most excited for?
If I had to limit it to this year, I'm also excited for Breath of the Wild 2. I'm very, put it this way, curious to see what Horizon 2 is. Because I feel like they could do a lot of the same, but I also feel like, Horizon came out at the same time as Breath of the Wild 2, and there were a lot of people that thought Breath of the Wild like ate that game's lunch in terms of
which isn't oh yeah, in terms
it's not
of
fair.
certain things. Yeah.
They're different games, but like if you played Breath of the Wild and then you played Horizon and you saw how restricted the like climbing was, you know what I mean? There are elements to that game that could definitely learn from Breath of the Wild. I'm not saying the exploration, just like how you get around the world.
All they need
and also
to do,
just how they balance the weapons. I thought I stuck with a few types of weapons and never used others because they were just like not as effective. So
yeah. All they need to do really with Horizon 2 is introduce like climbing from Valhalla, for example, because you can literally climb anything in that game.
Anything, yeah. Yeah, if they do something similar to that, I think it would be awesome. That and maybe restructuring or they have to find a way to incentivize you to use the different types of weapons. Like I felt like I settled on those arrows that like created sound and knocked armor off, and then just normal arrows.
I severely underestimated that bow till much late in the game.
That bow was strong. Like a fucking silver bullet. Like it just did everything you needed to. Like so I was never using I was never putting electric traps on the ground. I was never using slingshots. Like and those weapons were cool. Like I like the idea of preparing for a hunt where you put down like a little wire and then you lead an enemy to it or something like that. But if the game isn't, I wouldn't say forcing, because I hate when games force that thing. Like, it's why I'm finding myself struggling with Doom Eternal, because it forces you to play like that. Like, if you do not play a game with its rules, you cannot play that game. So, a good middle ground, which I make it sound easy, but it must be a fucking nightmare for designers. So good luck. But I'm excited to see them pull that off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, we have some additional questions from Megs on Twitter, who says, where do you guys see yourselves on the 6th Checkpoint Chat birthday anniversary?
Where are we now?
We're on 3.
Has it been 3?
3 years from now.
So another 3 years. Hopefully still doing the podcast. Who knows?
Alessandro and I agreed to disagree. We got separate ways.
Things change so rapidly, man. Who the fuck knows? Like, yeah. I mean, if in 3 years we're still doing this, that'd be great. Maybe bigger on YouTube. Hope. Yeah. Well, now I'm not giving myself like my actual prediction. I'm just like hoping where we are. Like,
I mean,
bigger on YouTube.
At the end of the day, like, I think we're both very chuffed that the podcast is where it is, but ultimately it started out as a platform just for us to talk about games, and
instead of running and talking
about games, and
now we don't run anymore.
I mean, we don't run together anymore. But for me specifically, so like you still are in the world of game journalism. For me, I desperately missed having an avenue for just talking. Well, I mean, I'm not writing about games, but I still get to talk about them and review them, and get excited about announcements and stuff. So even if we are just doing this in 3 years, like, I will be very happy because I enjoy speaking shit with you. I think we have a good time. And I mean, if we bigger, like, cool. I'm not gonna be like, damn. Can't believe we made it big.
As soon as parkruns come back, we're canceling the podcast.
We're canceling it. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I mean, we can record it while we're running.
Oh my god,
it'll be such a pain in post.
Oh my god, can you imagine? I'll have to keep that camera steady. Have you ever played a game years after its release that many people say is good, but it got the wrong good wording to convince you to play it ASAP? Watch Dogs 2 is a game for me. If someone said CJ's son is a tech-savvy wrecker in San Andreas, I slam it hard pronto. I don't understand.
I'm very confused by that entire sentence.
I'm very confused by this question. Have you ever played a game years after its release that many people say is good, but it got the wrong good wording to convince you to play it ASAP? I do not know.
Okay. I see. I think I see what he means. I think he's saying a game that's good, but the game being good is not what got you to play it. It was like just someone's anecdote.
That got
that
you.
That is totally not even about how good the game is. That got you to play it. I mean, it's a very specific thing.
Well, I mean, I suppose. Look, I don't have any examples off the top of my head, but I mean, I understand now. It's a thing of like, if I were to tell you, I played Breath of the Wild and I chopped down a tree, but I stopped it midair, then I hit it and it launched across the map, but I climbed on it and I flew across the map. It was the coolest thing. And you go,
I'd fucking play that game.
I can play that game, yeah.
I'd play that, yeah.
Which you can do in Breath of the Wild, which is such a good time.
Okay, so this is not entirely specific to the question, but okay, so I tried playing Half-Life 2 many years after the fact, and I think I tried twice, and both times I was like, I do not understand why this game is revered the way it is. Or at least I understand why at the time it was revered, but it doesn't hold up now. Then when Half-Life Alyx got announced, I was like, Half-Life Alyx looks really good, but I need to play Half-Life 2 to understand what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
So that's when I picked up Half-Life 2 for like the third time, and I was like, okay.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Let me just do this again. And I got fucking sucked in. Like, I was just like, okay, I get it. This game is fucking awesome. There's a lot of content
to play. You didn't just play Half-Life 2. You played Black Mesa, which is a remake of the first one.
Yeah, I played Black Mesa, which was awesome. And then 2, and then episode 1, and then episode 2. All within like the space of a month. So I was like really half-lifed out, and I never burnt out from it. And then Alyx just like
blew your mind.
The ending of Alyx would super not have made sense, or even like landed the way it did if I had not done what I did. Like, I'm so glad I did that, because the ending of Alyx was, I guess, the same as, you know, when episode 2 ended and people were like clamoring for episode 3.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like the end of Alyx is. It's now like I'm just like itching for the next chapter in the story, because holy shit.
I'm fortunate that hasn't been spoiled to me, because I do want to play Alyx one day. And like you've said, many people like that ending.
Yeah. What's interesting is that it's definitely something that can be spoiled, but it being spoiled, I don't think would take away the impact of the scene, because it's your interactivity within that scene that makes it incredible. Like, there is a moment where you just like, oh, okay, I see where they're going with this. And
my goodness.
Yeah, it's still today. Like, Jeff is busy playing through Alyx, and every day I ask him if he's finished it, because I want to know. I need to talk to someone about it.
Day 34, have you finished the game? No.
It's incredible. It's so cool. Like, he showed me this video this week of someone modded Alyx. They basically remade the first BioShock in Half-Life Alyx.
What?
Which is awesome. I kind of want to try it. And I'm just like, this is cool, but have you finished Alyx yet? He's like, no. And I'm just like, fuck's sake, man.
Stop dilly-dallying. Finish your shit, man. Come on.
I need to drop off the quest at you sometime for you to play Alyx, because it's really, wow, it's special.
Can I play Beat Saber with the quest? Yeah.
You can play Beat Saber with the quest without cables.
Because I know Lenz and I, when we scroll TikTok sometimes, we often get a TikToker who just does Beat Saber songs, but like stupidly difficult songs, and like 100% them. I'm like, I need to play this.
Dude, like, yeah. Those super difficult ones are usually side-loaded modded ones.
Yeah, it's like 100% modded.
But they are, they're balls to the wall. It's, it's real good. Really, really good.
But yeah, I think we are out of time and out of questions for this week. So let's just end it there. We're done. Had enough of your face.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions. As always, you can email us, checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on social platforms at Checkpoint Chat, except for TikTok, where it is Checkpoint Chat podcast.
And that's it. That is episode 137. My goodness, we are just shy of the 2-hour mark. It's been a while since
Can you believe it?
We clapped it. And we only spoke about, I spoke about Bravely Default 2, which I actually had no intention of doing. But you know what? We talked about
you broke
games,
from script there. How dare you?
I did. I'm so sorry.
How dare you?
But yeah, it's a long weekend. So are we going to put this out on Monday?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll still put this. I mean, if you got to this point in the podcast, you would have known when we put it out, I guess.
It's Tuesday. Yesterday was a public holiday. I don't know if you knew this.
But yes, probably put it out Monday. But if you're listening to this on Monday, enjoy your public holiday. If you're in South Africa, obviously. And we'll be back next time for episode 138. Thank you so much for listening.
Cool.
See you next week.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye.